I watched Blue Beetle, and here's my spoiler-filled review. This is my honest opinion of the movie, so make sure you subscribe and drop a like. Let's start with the things that Blue Beetle doesn't really do all that well. I have to say, going into this movie, I didn't really have any high expectations. I had basically no expectations for this film because only the character, not the movie itself, is going to be canon to the new DC universe under James Gunn. Something that myself and I'm seeing a lot of other people complain about is that the villain of this film is basically Blue Beetle, but a bad version of him. Honestly, that's to be expected because the Blue Beetle does not shy away from that comic book movie formula. So is this movie extremely original? No, but it does take that formula and make it very much its own. Another complaint that honestly is not really a major complaint is that this movie is not canon to the DC universe. The only reason that's a complaint of mine is because I think it's taking away from its box office, and I think the movie is fantastic. I think it would be a great addition to the new DC universe. Finally, a kind of nitpicking little detail that there are some moments in the movie, especially like at the end, whenever our villain sacrifices himself to do the right thing and become this hero in the end eventually, he doesn't fly away. He just runs from this massive explosion that destroys an entire island. Blue Beetle can definitely just fly. It would have been that simple. He would just flown away instead of running and making a big deal out of it. Stuff like that happens consistently throughout the movie. Like when Jenny actually gives the scarab to Jaime, and he walks out the door after they kind of initiated this major lockdown on the building, the scarab's missing, and she just gives it to him in a burger box, and he just walks out the door and nobody says anything to him. So there are a lot of things throughout the movie like that honestly, if you want to nitpick, you can, and that's why I'm mentioning it here. Let's move on to some of my favorite parts about the Blue Beetle. Something I didn't expect a whole lot from this movie was that they were going to tie into the original Blue Beetle, Ted, and he was actually kind of a main part of this, especially with Jenny being his co-star in the entire movie. It was really fascinating to see them tie this scarab to Ted and to Cord Industries. It was fantastic, and I loved seeing this like lineage, and hopefully we get to see Ted in future movies. Something I think they absolutely nailed on the head was the feel of Palmyra City. If you've read the Blue Beetle comic books and you watch this movie, Palmyra City is going to look fantastic, and I absolutely loved it. And that kind of leads right into the CGI. The CGI was actually pretty good. There were some moments that you could see, oh, maybe that's like a little bit of CGI, but no problem. It didn't actually pull me out of the movie like The Flash did. The Flash CGI was so bad, and this movie actually picked it up a notch, and it was actually really, really well done. The suit was phenomenal. I love the suit. Practical effects are the way to go. I know CGI can be really beneficial, but you need to mix in a lot of the practical stuff. And you're seeing a major quality difference, especially when you have companies like Marvel and Disney that are rushing their CGI artists to hurry up and finish these scenes, finish this movie for them so they can push it out in high volume. And it suffers, the quality suffers because it pulls you out whenever something doesn't look really realistic. I think the Blue Beetle actually did a pretty good job of keeping it really good and having a really good mix of CGI and practical, and you really see that in the suit. The suit looks fantastic. I alluded to this earlier, but the Blue Beetle does a really good job of taking this comic book formula that we pretty much know everything does and adding its own twist to that formula. The reality is, the Blue Beetle is a DC character, and his parents have to die. Someone has to die, and it was his father this time. I think the way his father died was done really, really well. It wasn't directly because of the villain. The villain didn't literally kill Jaime's father. He had a heart attack and nothing could be done. That's just what happened. Yes, the villain caused this entire like scene that could have kind of incited that heart attack or caused that heart attack, but he didn't physically kill his father. And the scene between Jaime and his father when they were talking after he basically died and then came back, it was done really well. It was beautiful and got me kind of emotional. Not only was Jaime's father such a major part of his story, but his entire family is. And I absolutely love that aspect of this movie. They really focus on family, and they do a really good job of making it seem like they're a real family in real life. The chemistry between the actors was fantastic. A major standout for me, honestly, out of that cast was George Lopez. I grew up watching George Lopez's show at night, and this was probably the funniest I've ever seen him. Speaking of funny, I think this is also something the film does really, really well, is balancing those emotional scenes that need to happen in those serious scenes with the funny, the comedy, the jokes. I think it was really balanced, and it was fantastic to actually watch, because it wasn't like joke, serious, joke within a serious scene. It wasn't any of that, and it really kept me entertained the entire time. I never wanted to leave that theater. There was something from the comics that is shown a lot on each page that I was afraid they weren't going to do in the movie, and they kind of nailed it. And that's that the Scarab and Jaime are symbiotic, and they really like talk to each other, and they have conversations. I think they absolutely nailed this in the movie, and it kind of starts with, oh, this thing is attached to me, I don't want it. And then by the end of the film, you have Jaime accepting his destiny, which was his conversation with his father, and he is the Blue Beetle. He and the Scarab are combined, they are one, and they have these conversations, and it's fantastic. I think my favorite part of the entire movie was that when he first bonded, obviously the Scarab was sent from the Reach, which they don't really mention. I wish they would have, but they were sent from the Reach to destroy the Earth. It's a planet-destroying weapon, and the Scarab very much knows that. So when he's actually using the suit for the first time, it's, let's eliminate this enemy, let's kill this enemy. So Jaime is always telling it, no, I'm not a killer, we don't kill people, that's not what we do. And obviously with the death of his father, he's very emotional, he's very mad at the villain of this story, and at the end he wants to kill him. He tries to kill him, but the Scarab stops him and tells him, we're not killers. So there wasn't only a development of the character of Jaime, it was also the Scarab. The character of the Scarab also had a lot of character development at the end, and it was fantastic to see. I absolutely loved it. So overall, I have to give this movie like an 8 to an 8.5. Let's go 8.3, kind of right in the middle, out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie. It was very entertaining from beginning all the way to the end. And when it ended, I was like, man, I want James Gunn to make this part of the DC universe. But I know he's not going to. That character moving over, though, I really hope Jola gets to play that character again, because he was a perfect casting. Absolutely fantastic movie. You need to go watch it. Very entertaining. Bring the family. Well, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe and drop a like if you want to see a lot more content just like this. Also, if you've seen the movie, let me know in the comments what you thought. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.